Hello everyone, I'm Rodrigo Fortuny, and tonight we have an incredible guest here in Santiago, a musician who is visiting South America, specifically Chile, for 4 concerts that are completely sold out. He won a bunch of awards, including 20 Grammy Award winners. Started his career when he was 13 years old. Has played at the best venues in the world with amazing musicians. Today we are going to talk with Pat Metheny. Right off the top, Pat, thank you for saying yes to this. I know you have a super tight schedule these days, and when I sent you that email, you got back to me right away to do this podcast. So your music has been part of my whole life. You created the soundtrack for millions of people around the world, and since I was 9 years old, it's been with me. It's great to sit down and have this conversation, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For everyone listening, the concert ended just a few minutes ago, and I'm really fascinated with the whole thing of the baritone guitar and this whole process that brought this tour together. What it's like being back on the road in South America. Here in Chile, we get pretty crazy about your music.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I really was happy when I was told that we would be able to do this. I was really happy when I was told we'd be able to do this tour. I really especially wanted to bring it down here for you guys because the audience here, I don't know why, but the audience in Chile from the very first time I came here and every time since has been just incredible. So, this is a very different kind of presentation really than anything I've ever done before. And I really was hoping to be able to come here, and here I am, and to be able to do 4 nights is just incredible. It's really been great, and we just finished the 3rd night, as you were saying, and I'm going to be sad to go. It's just been fantastic.
It's amazing how November 24, 2001 led us to this moment, enjoying this tour, all this music. When you recorded One Get Night at your home studio instead of your usual approach to recording albums, did you know you were starting this whole journey of investigation?
Well, the baritone guitar thing in particular was a real surprise to me because I had never really thought about it, and honestly, I had never really thought about playing solo guitar. People had asked me, about doing that at different points along the way. And my reaction was, well, if I ever do a solo concert, I want to make sure I do something very different. And the answer to that was that I did the Orchestrion project, which was definitely different. It was just me. It was a solo concert, and also it was the project that proved once and for all just how weird I actually am. That's, it was a very unusual experience, and so in a lot of ways, the whole thing for me of being the sole person on the bandstand or whatever, kind of appeared here and there along the way in different forms. I mean, there was Zero Tolerance for Silence. There was a couple film scores where it was just me, New Chautauqua. I mean, there's quite a range of things that have kind of fit under the umbrella of, projects where it's just me, which kind of all led to this tour. But I think the real answer to your question is, yes, that began a thing, me with the baritone guitar, that was not expected at all, that now has taken me to the point where, especially with the baritone nylon string, like what's on Moondial, it's really like a fundamental thing for me now. I mean, it's almost to the point like, I'm going to be really sad when this is over, because it's almost like an orchestra. It's like it's like having this orchestra there. And a lot of that has to do with just the nature of the resonant quality of that particular instrument. But the general thing of being able to have one finger that stretches across multiple octaves like that is really unique. And it allows me to do a lot of the kinds of things that I think about harmonically sort of on the fly. I can just make them up. And it's been great.
It's great too, because South America or Latin America is always in this project too, because you found the strings in Argentina.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I literally saw a guy on YouTube, a Brazilian guitar player, who was talking about those strings. And then I did some investigation, and it seemed to be a company that was dedicated to, I mean, this is very guitar nerd stuff, but the thing is, if you have a string and you tune it very low or very high, maybe it'll kind of work, but it also might break, or it might just sound terrible, or it could just be really floppy. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. This company seems to be dedicated to getting the scale length of a normal instrument to be able to do, kind of extreme pitches, which sort of is what I'm doing basically. So I saw this guy on YouTube. He talked about the strings. I looked on Amazon. I found some on Amazon. I ordered them, and I put them on that guitar, and suddenly this whole world opened up.
And in that point, you realize something, but with these strings, something different, something unique.
Oh, it's completely different. I mean, it may not sound as different as it feels different, but I think it even sounds pretty different. Thing about nylon strings in general, you have a lot more wiggle room. I mean, with steel strings, I mean, if I make the tiniest little thing, people go, it's like really, it's so precise in a way. And when I'm improvising, that's an issue, is that, I kind of can't mess up too much, there's not much room. With the nylon string, I mean, I don't think people would even know if I messed anything up. It's just kind of in there with the thing. It's just much more loose in a way. So there's that. And then also, I think just the general kind of warmer type thing that comes with nylon strings is there.
It's incredible how the whole project, and you can call that like a trilogy of the albums, or because I understand for you it's the whole thing from the beginning, but for somebody trying to understand more about this, you have different projects in different parts of your life with this experimentation, and the last one, do you think it's something rich for you say it's like over here, this part of the baritone guitar?
Well, one thing, I mean, you're talking about, I assume when you say a trilogy, you're talking about Moondial, Dreambox, and One Quiet Night. The thing about Dreambox is that it is really got a weird story, which is, I don't even remember doing any of that. And I know I did because it's there, but I mean, I have probably hundreds of songs that I've written, and when I write something, I do a little quick version of it, a demo, with it usually with just one other guitar, and then I write out a lead sheet, and then I put it in a folder, and my first reaction to the tune is whatever it is, and honestly, I forget about them because I write at least a tune every day, maybe two, because actually when I'm writing music, I have to write through everything that I've ever written to get to new stuff. So that means that, to get something, what I'm looking for, I probably have to write 10 things to get to the one. And so that means I have a lot of these other things that are, at least 9 of them are on Dreambox, where it is what I did, whatever it is. I don't even remember what it was. So That's a pretty unique thing. That's not like, I wouldn't say that's like the others. But maybe the trilogy you're talking about is One Quiet Night, What's It All About, and Moondial. And that is correct, yeah.
If we jump to technology, it's one big thing in your life, is really important in your music. And back in 2009, when Brad Meldo visited Chile, I was talking with him after the gig, and he told me, and I never forget this, I can tell you a secret, but it's playing with machines. And this surprised to me why he said that. But you later released the orchestral project.
Yeah.
Orchestral project.
Plus, I mean, so yeah, I mean, for me, like all of that stuff from the beginning, 1979, to me, anything I could use that stuff for, I did, I would, and I will. Because to me, it's like, man, we are so lucky to live in this incredible moment of possibility. So yeah, I mean, you know, first of all, acoustic machines, yeah, meaning like orchestrion stuff, but also, you know, playing with sequences, playing, you know, having tracks now. Everybody does that now. I mean, you know, the tune Are You Going With Me? I don't think anybody ever realized what we were doing back in 1980. But yeah, it was like a sequence. But we used to haul around this big thing, you know, to do it because you had to then. And, but yeah, you know, it's like having a guy in the band that has incredible time, but he doesn't listen.
and I remember in all of these years, Oberheim, the Sinclair, the Lexicon with the digital delay, the Roland is distinctive in different part of your music career. But what do you think your grandfather Delmar John Hansen would say if we show him the orchestrion? I'm not sure if I pronounce the pronunciation of the name of your grandfather was good.
It's okay. You know, he was an incredible guy. Actually, he was an amazing musician, and I'm sure he would like it, no question.
I asked Antonio Sanchez what he learned from you outside the music, and he said was the ability to plan and deliver an incredible show. And something I always admire is how you never leave show to chance. I remember I was in Argentina in 2020 when concert got cancelled, but you did an amazing 3 hours improvised concert with the whole group in the EMBA. And I was there 2 meters away, and I could see the show was everything. The people was there, maybe 40, 50 people. Was amazing. And I remember in Carrara, 1987.
Oh my God, were you there?
No, not me, but I hear about this story.
Yeah, I mean, that was
when
really
your instrument didn't arrive.
Well, they did, but the guy, we had a professional tour manager who said that the stage was not capable of us putting on a show, and I fired him immediately, and we put on a show with instruments from a music store.
But you do an incredible quartet concert, improvised, because you don't have your own instrument, but just making it work for the audience. Where did that come from? When did you realize a great show couldn't be left to chance?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it was always like that up until like the 60s, when suddenly it was okay for cast to just kind of walk out on the stage and whatever. Probably because of Miles, because he could do that, but then everybody else started doing it too. And you know, I played a lot with Roy Haynes, and, you know, of course, Roy played with Charlie Parker a lot. And Roy always said something interesting to me. He said, you know what? You remind me of Bert because it's like we always put on a show. We never just played a set. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? And he said, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And to me, it's like, I don't know where so-called jazz guys got the idea that it was okay to just kind of fumble out on stage and, I don't get it. I've never gotten that. And yeah, to me, it's like, it's a weird dichotomy for me because on one hand, I'm saying, yes, I have a lot of respect for the fact that the guy in the third row had to park his car and pick up his girlfriend and go through all, get the tickets and all that. And there he is, he's there. So I want to be conscientious towards that guy. However, once the music starts, I don't care about anybody or anything except it. And the relationship that it has to the other musicians and particularly to whatever it is that we all are doing as musicians. So whether somebody likes it or doesn't like it is really none of my business. I hope they like it, but if they don't, whatever. It's all about kind of the relationship of what music means in that particular moment based on the understanding I have of the place that music has in this larger thing.
Did you choose your set list by yourself, or did you ask for people in general? Do you prefer to create your own?
Well, you must have heard that I am not that I'm known as a benevolent dictator. There is no, it's so funny that people have this idea of Pat Metheny group, that it was some kind of group thing. No. It never was anything other than like the Miles Davis quintet, or for that matter, it's exactly the same as if I had the trio or whatever. It's just I got really good at branding things very early, which probably had some usefulness, but no, I've never really relied on. It's always been my idea of how the thing should go in every way. And, my job is to find the right people. To make for whatever it is I'm interested in, I want to try to find the right cast for it, really. And that varies a lot. Sometimes you hire a guy who's really good at this, but they're not good at that, so you got to do a lot of that. But then sometimes you have an idea for something, and it's like, I need a guy who can do that. And then that's a different situation. But no, I've always been very stubborn. I've always been very sure about what it is we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So
yeah, what you say about cast, it's not easy because so many concerts a year, more than the general musicians, and I understand your threshold, but how do you know the limit of this new musician?
The other guys, yeah. No, it's a problem, actually. It's not just the musicians, it's the crew, too. It's hard for me to find people who can keep up, to tell you the truth. And that's always been a problem for me. And also, almost anybody can do 30 concerts. It's going to be fine.
We are talking about yearly.
But when we start talking about gig 137 and stuff like that, not just the psychological thing, but the musical ability to play a whole lot of gigs and make up new stuff every time and be cool is really hard to find. And it's always been hard to find for me.
And it's something I don't want to lose for the new, the young guys. But you've been on training for years in the 70s, driving a band every day, a concert in the next city and the next city. And how do you understand this was the way? Because right now I put my song on internet and everybody knows about me, but the way at this time was, just one.
Well, honestly, what I did at that time, would still be the only way to do it, which is to go out and play a whole lot of gigs. Because, yeah, you can put stuff online. To me, there's nothing online that is real. It's all fake. Or not fake, it's whatever. It's a thing. I mean, I have never once looked at like Facebook or Instagram or any of that shit. I have zero interest in that because to me it's not real. It's just a bunch of people. I mean, people say stuff that they would never ever say. And people, how much of an investment is it that somebody's going to hit a like? But like I see musicians like I've got, 1,000 likes. I'm like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. And honestly, talking about young cats, I mean, there are guys I've hired where they spend more time on that stuff than they do practicing. It's like, man, if you practiced half as much as you're doing that, you'd get really good. And I mean, okay, I'm saying that, but I know that the office, the management people, they do all that stuff. And, sometimes I go to a city and it's like, we used to come to a place and there would be posters everywhere. And I'm like, I never see posters anymore. And they say, oh, yeah, because we don't need that. We sell everything online. I'm like, well, man, but you should still put the posters up because how are you going to know? How's anybody going to know? Because so then you're just playing for the people who already know your thing. And the best thing to do is to go out and play. Like if I see a talented young band or musician, I'm like, okay, here's what you got to do. You go out and you play for every possible place you could possibly play for 3 years. And you have to play every night like it's the last time you will ever play your instrument for forever. And you have to make sure that if there's 2 people there, that they walk away like that was unbelievable. And also you have to be really good. That's, of course, the key thing. If you do that, you will have success. And I don't care if the style of music that you're playing is like you're knocking down trash cans and that's your sound. If you do that and it's great, you're going to be cool. And, getting likes and Instagram blah, 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 that's all just a bunch of crap, man. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't translate. So, and the other thing is you can't really tell what somebody sounds like when you hear them on a video or something. I've been tricked a couple times. I've hired a couple guys who I thought, based on YouTube, wow, that guy's really good. And then like gig 6, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No. So, but I'm old too. So, but I have three kids and I talk with them about that stuff. They agree, it's not a good way to go through life to rely on that stuff.
Yeah, I want to come back a little bit because I don't know why you understand well, I understand this. Do you really understand the mind of the fans?
No, I never have. It's always been a mystery to me. No. I don't understand much about most people, actually. I mean, it's only really dawned on me, really since I had kids, that I am a pretty weird person because I have never understood anybody. I've never felt aligned with this group or that group or this group. I've always felt like, and not in a bad way, I just have always felt like I've kind of got my own thing. And then, I mean, I'm really happy people like it, but sometimes I do wonder. It's like, I mean, with musicians, I don't wonder as much because I do know that, there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the way the chords and all that. But I mean, the majority of people that follow my thing are not musicians. It's like civilians. And I often wonder, like, what are they hearing? And I don't know. I'm glad they like it though.
But it's really interesting because you do some things like I can believe it. Like when talking about the shows, when you start a show, and for example, I don't know, the imaginary day, and you mix into the dream and have you heard. This is the you understand something unique. And right now, for example, when you start, you understand. You say you don't understand, but
No.
in my way, you create something really special.
But what I think you're talking about now is different than what I was saying a minute ago. So for me, I am very concerned with the sort of narrative, expositional sense of everything, really, from the most, inside part of what improvising is to not just the whole presentation, but like the whole tour. It's like, for me, these are all stories. And my admiration for storytelling, in whatever form it may be, is like immense. And I follow very closely people who are excellent storytellers in all fields. And that is actually the aspect of what I am kind of shooting for, that my heroes within this realm, Gary for sure, Miles, Stan Getz, Lester Young.
Cheek.
Yeah, I mean, these are all people who, when they're playing, it's sort of unfolding. And it's like not just a little thing. It's like it keeps going. And one other aspect for me that's difficult to find in musicians is that thing of being able to take ideas and have them keep going and going and going. And, Sonny Rollins, Wes Montgomery, those were the guys for me that were the models of how you do it. And then on a compositional level, especially Monk, but Chick is another really good example of people who write tunes that are kind of indestructible in a way. And by that, I mean, you could play Round Midnight 1,000 times. It could be amateur players or it could be the highest level players, and Round Midnight is going to do its thing. And to me, that standard has always been the only standard. I mean, I don't really look around my contemporaries too much, and I never have. I've only looked at Bach. So it's like there's no, I'm not really that concerned with anything except that highest level in terms of where I try to learn from. And man, I got to play with Gary Burton and Steve Swallow when I was 18 years old, and I was lucky to be around a contemporary who was like me in the sense that we were kind of on a mission from wherever to change the role of our instruments within this music. I'm talking about Jaco. And, it's like, it's pretty clear that's what you're supposed to do, is that, is like come up with some stuff and tell a story about it. It's your story that's very personal to who you are, where you're from, and is honestly about your place in this moment. And to me, finding somebody who can combine all those things and also, of course, be an excellent musician, I mean, that's hard. It's hard to find. What I notice now with young cats, because I am looking for this sort of long thing, and most of the young improvisers I hear, it's like, it's like one idea, another idea, another idea, another idea. And, it kind of used to like, why can't you combine, like you start this and then you start something else? Why not just keep that going? And then one day I realized, okay, well, these are the cats who are tweeting all the time and they're Instagramming all the time. And their entire life is built on short bursts of information. So actually, maybe that's like the organic expression of that moment. That's probably how they should play. So I'm trying to go there and give that some thought.
When I talk with local musicians, AI always come up. There is a concern about being replaced. But here I am talking with you, someone who embraced technology your whole career. Well, how do you see AI?
Well,
is it a tool or something to worry about?
As you could probably guess, I'm all over that. And I have been for a while now. It's a tool. I wish they did not come up with that name for it, because that's not really what's happening. I mean, there's nothing intelligent going on there. It's really just kind of the next step in search, but it's like a really kind of 3D sort of search thing going on. And it's very powerful, very advanced, and the kind of threat, I would say, it does exist for commercial applications of, like, when you're on hold with United Airlines for 45 minutes and they're going to play some stupid thing. That's probably where it's going to have a really good place. And then if your thing is not that great to start with, yeah, then you're probably in trouble. But if you're like a really good musician, you're cool. It's just another tool. And, I know what's going to happen. I can see it coming. I mean, I've been, like I said, following this very closely. The musical applications that we have right now exist in a way where we can, so a year ago you could sing something, and then, of course, we've had auto-tune for years. You can auto-tune it, and then you can get any voice to sing it, right? So that was about a year. Then, about 6 months ago, you could put in words, and that was the next thing, and you have like 50 people that you can have sing it. Now, you don't even have to do that. You can write it in Sibelius as a MIDI file with the words, export that MIDI file into something like Ace Studio, pick 50 people to sing it, and there you go. And so that's step one. And the next step is, what we see with Suno, Udio, those things where you say, write me a song about my girlfriend's, dog whose name is Fred or whatever, and then and what style you want it, country, blah, blah, blah. That part of it is a little weird because they clearly have scraped all of our shit. And we're not getting anything for that. I mean, it's not like it's just making that shit up. It's coming from, because it's scraped everybody's stuff. And that's a problem. However, there is no putting toothpaste back in the tube. That's done. It's gone. So, but the fact that that is happening means that there will be a point where it'll be very sophisticated. And for me, that's going to be cool. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to use that. Right now it's very crude, but I can see a couple of years from now it's going to be a really interesting, useful tool.
I've heard that you've been journaling for over 40 years, and obviously you keep doing it because it benefits your life, your career. What motivated you to start, and what keeps you going with it?
Well, what motivated me to start it was in those early years, one of the measures of success, I guess, as you're building an audience is that you keep getting invited back to places. And at that time, it would be, even in the course of a tour, we would have a gig and it would go really well. And the promoter would say, well, can you come back 2 months from now and do a bigger place? And, so I would keep notes to remember what we played so that we didn't play exactly the same thing. So it would be slightly different or maybe whatever. And also, I just started taking notes about the promoter, the hall, the hotel, all that kind of, really mundane stuff. But also, just writing stuff down is very useful. It causes you to think about things differently. So for me, it has then expanded occasionally, not always, but to where I write a lot of notes about specific musical things. They're not for anybody else other than me. I wouldn't really ever want anybody to see any of this shit. Because it's also, I don't know that anybody would even be able to decode it. Because
Okay.
It's all like, it's shorthand in a way.
Okay. Your curiosity has taken you in so many directions musically. How do you cultivate that? What fits it?
Well, I'm a musician because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of music. And it's always been very natural for me if I hear something I like to go, oh, what's that? How does that work? How do they do that? What are they doing? So there's infinity stuff that I like. I mean, literally. So, I mean, it's endless, the kinds of things that would interest me. And then, I mean, it's kind of weird. I would say in the last 10 or 15 years, well, okay, I never really knew what I really sounded like because I never would listen to it except in the recording studio. And so when I started this idea of side-eye type thing, or just in general, wanting to hire younger cats, I started inviting people over and recording us playing. And it's usually just me and a drummer. And in a lot of ways, that's the first time I ever realized what I actually sound like. And it's been really interesting for me because now I kind of get it in a way that I don't think I did before, because recording studios are just weird. I mean, it's just the weirdest thing, the red light, and it's just weird, and I never really liked that much. But this is just playing. And especially if I do a bunch of playing and then I don't listen to it for like 2 years or something, and then I hear it, I have no idea what I'm about to play. I'm listening to that, I'm like, God, I mean, probably if I listened to it right after I did it, I would know exactly what I'm going to play. But it's like, I don't know what I'm going to play. And that's true across hours and hours and hours and hours of stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I can really do this now. And maybe I've probably been able to do it all along, but I just never really noticed it. And so now it's been really interesting for me because I have a lot of confidence in my thing that maybe I didn't have before. I just know it's going to be cool. So, and some of that is just being around for a long time. I mean, it's like as the years go by, you understand a lot more about a lot of things. So.
What values are important to you to maintain your identity? Like your father said, like be yourself.
Well, I mean, I think there's the personal side and then there's the musical side, and they do overlap to a certain degree. But the musical side, my values are intrinsic to the music itself. I don't think I really can extract what they are on a language level that has any value relative to what the music is. That's always been a little bit of a thing, not just for me, for everybody. It's like, it's hard to say. But on a personal level, yeah, I mean, I'm very, very lucky that I have 3 great kids, and my wife, Latifah, is fantastic, and we have 2 dogs that are great, and, everybody is cool, and we're all enjoying our time here on the planet. I mean, that's the value for me is that. That's way more than anything else, actually.
Stay right now and live the moment, stay focused in the moment.
Well, yeah, but I do think that there is you mentioned father. There is one big thing that my father did say, which is on my mind, and I've communicated this to my kids too. His thing was always very simple: play the odds. Which is, it's like if you do that thing, the odds are pretty good. You're gonna die, so maybe don't do that. And that is something. It's sort of like, I would even almost say on a musical level, it's like, okay, given the state of my chops tonight and this drummer and that bass player, should we really play Cherokee like that? Maybe the odds are that's not going to go too well. Maybe we should play Bye Bye Blackbird instead. Play the odd. Like try to go with stuff that's gonna, there's no need to be a hero. There's plenty of things to do within the realm of what's possible.
Tonight you give us an incredible interpretation of Quilapayun in your concert. How did you approach that choice that is have to do with the current global political moment?
Well, we all know that that song was very important here in Chile at a certain point, right? I mean, I think that was the first time, in a way, that that tune had that meaning. Maybe we need that now. You guys went through that already. So maybe it's time for us to use that tune that way. Because, I mean, a lot of other countries since you all have used it. I think, you know, I mean, it was, yes, it was a tribute to you guys for sure. But it's, you know, our country right now. See, the thing is, you guys went through it. Brazil went through it. Argentina went through it. We never have gone through it. So everybody keeps thinking, oh, that's not going to happen. It's happening. So, yeah, it has extra special meaning right now, I would say. Not to mention, it is an incredible song. I mean, I remember when I first heard it, which would have been in the 70s, right? It's like, man, you're going to have a protest song. That's a great protest song. It's got like 2 5s and, you know, it's like, man, that's like the best protest song anybody could ever have. And so, yeah.
Well, what is coming next? Because give us a little hint about the new Side Eye.
Well, the Side Eye thing really evolved over the course of, you know, the period that other record was out and all that. And I really changed it very quickly after we did that record to a new drummer who, I mean, you know, it's funny because, you know, I always said about Antonio, he's the drummer I thought would never be born because I mean, you know, I love all the drummers I've had over the years, but I mean, Antonio was just like, this is a dream. This is unbelievable. This is the guy, you know, and he played me for 20 years. And man, in that 20 years, I can't think of one night that we didn't, like, you know, blast off into wherever. He's one of the greatest musicians I have ever been around on any instrument. And, you know, that's Antonio. I'm so proud of him. I'm so happy for him that he's had everything happening. But I'm thinking, okay, well, man, okay, that was that. But I got another one, which is Joe Dyson. It's a very different kind of thing. But Joe is a guy who can really hang with me. He can do the 145 gigs and play great every night. And also, you know, it's funny because Joe is really much closer to my Kansas City thing in a way because of the New Orleans thing. So having Joe on the bandstand, once he came in, it was like, oh, okay. And then I found this guy, Chris Fishman, who's, again, a very different kind of musician from anybody I've ever hired. He's a drummer who plays keyboards because he's of this Lewis Cole thing. And this Lewis Cole thing is this weird hip scene in LA. It's not weird, amazing scene in LA. Kind of led by this guy, Lewis Cole, where pretty much everybody has to be a drummer to hang with him because he's an unbelievable drummer. But he writes this amazing music, and Chris started following that scene when he was 14, 15 years old, kind of came up through that scene. And he's like everything that I, again, never thought I would find in a guy who plays keyboards like a drummer. And by that, I don't mean he's going to go digga, 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 digga. I mean, he's got a kind of time thing happening that feels like drums to me. So that's been the core thing. We did, I don't know, 200 gigs or something like that. And then I had written a bunch of this music very similar to what happened on the so-called Evening With Band, which I should have just called the Pat Metheny Group because they're all the Pat Metheny Group to me. I don't, you know, I'm still stuck on this branding thing, but, you know, that band was an incredible band, amazing band. We made that record from this place. And as we were making it, I was like, this is cool, but this is not it. This is just part of it. And then, of course, I added a lot of other stuff. With this Side Eye record, this exact same thing happened in a different way, though. And so basically, there is this record that's done that's going to come out in the spring, calling it Side Eye 3 Plus, because the plus means it's the three of us, me, Joe, and Chris, with a bunch of other people. And it's a pretty amazing record, I got to say. I mean, I don't know how to begin to describe what it is. It's just, I mean, even my wife was like, okay. But it does, I mean, you would recognize that it's me right away, for sure. It's not like it's some other person. But it's just really a thing. It's really a thing. And very excited about it. And then also Ron Carter and I have been playing a lot over the years. We did a week in Japan with Joe playing with us. And I hope that'll come out at some point. I think it will. I mean, it's just a matter of when. So.
Are you planning a tour too with the Side Eye?
Yeah. It's actually a little bit sooner than I would like, given how this has gone on. This was going to be 50 concerts, and right now, I think this is gig 193 tonight. So, and it's good because, I mean, the evening with presentation and the Side Eye thing, in a way, were a little bit similar somehow. This obviously is a completely different thing, and it's been good to come back to these places I've played a lot and have a completely different kind of presentation. So now I feel like we can do anything. So.
For sure, we will wait for you on your tour, and we will talk more. So
cool.
Yeah, listening today, Pat, I see someone who really lived the approach completely to be a good player. You be done hard things, you be done your own thing, you be done it for decades, and you be writing your own story. So you never stop working on becoming a better player. So thank you for sharing this with us and with me tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure. All right.
Thank you.